Hello, my name is Duncan and welcome to Baft Books, Back Away from the Donkey. This is my pick and mix video. I'm actually doing a few videos today, recording in the morning because we actually got sunlight, which is nice, because if I record anywhere else sort of midday it can go dark very quickly. And this is basically my sum up of stuff I've read, stuff I'm going to read, and just random rambles that might have nothing to do with anything. I said I'm recording several videos today. I've got to do my, if you've not seen my Bookmas videos, which is basically I'm doing a video a day, well, hopefully up till Christmas, which is just me rambling, showing you some odd book things. It's basically my life is so dull that to vlog it, which is why I'm not doing Vlogmas, is a bit dull, so I'm doing Bookmas, so it's all about books. But there may be some random outside videos in there as well. But yeah, talking about what I've been reading and what I've read recently, I finished the Philip K. Dick book, The Cosmic Puppets, last week, which I really like. Which I may have mentioned. The year's best science fiction story 7 as well I finished, which had a Joe Haldeman story, another one on war and stuff, which was a really good story, but they had this weird thing in it that in the middle of it, it was about these, I can try and remember what the name of the story is, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I can find out if you want to know. But in the middle of it, you had these things about these people who've been fighting this war and they travel in time. So they started in 1996, then travelled in 2003, and ended up in 2023 or 24 when they returned to Earth. And when they were being assimilated back to Earth, there was this weird statement. This guy came up and said, "Are any of you homosexual?" Okay, that's a weird way of pronouncing it. And he said, because the UN has now put forward an encouraging homosexuality to stop keep population growth down. I just thought it was a very weird point of view. I've never seen that on any book or any story ever, but I know population growth was a big thing in the late 60s, early 70s, because you have Harry Harrison's Make Room, and a few other books have sort of approached it, but it was just the way it was worded. And as much as I'm fine because of the time it was written and how gay people were accepted back then and what have you, it was just the way it was worded. It was really, really strange. And that was the Joe Haldeman story. Can't remember what the hell it's called off the top of my head because I haven't got the book in front of me. I might put it in the notes if I remember to. I may not remember to once I'm putting this down. But yes, so Joe Haldeman. So what I'm reading this week, I started off, as I may have mentioned last week, I'm going to do a reread of Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. And I decided to read my Oxford Classics one, which I've got, which is a beautiful book. And what I like about them is they flop open nicely without breaking the spine, which is great. But yeah, I'm really quite like Dickens. I've always, normally when I reread this, I read this around Christmas because I think of it as a Christmas book. Because as a child, I always remember the film, I don't know, I think it was a 60s film that used to be on around about Christmas. And so I always think of Great Expectations of being a Christmas book. There's a funny thing, I was watching last night, I'm recording this, Sunday morning anyway. Yesterday I was watching a repeat of one of Steve Donahue's live streams, and he was talking about how people over iconize sort of classic books, make them big icons, make them big things. Like, how do you read them and make them, they're just books and they're just words. And if you put them up on, make them some like holy relic, you almost, to me, it's almost a form of elitism. It's like pushing people away from it. And, it's like, some people say, how do you read that? Well, you just open it and you read it at your pace. Yes, some of the text may be slightly different, but you just read it. But yeah, so classic Charles Dickens. I said I really like Dickens. Dickens actually reads quite modern if you actually get into it. But I don't know whether it's my favourite Dickens or not. And probably going to me tapping the book constantly. But yeah. So I should finish out by Christmas because I'm going to read this quite slowly just because I've got other things on the go and I just like to read sort of 30, 40 pages a day on it as I'm reading some other things around it. The other book I picked up is I wanted an easy read, and I have over the past year, I like mainly Feist's Rift War things. There's 29 books in the whole thing here, ridiculous amount. So I've been slowly rereading those over the past year or so, and I'm up to book 9 or 10, which is Crondor the Betrayal. This is a very battered paperback version of it. I don't know why I got such a battered one, with a great piece of Jeff Taylor art on it. I've not read this for quite a few years, and I'm enjoying it, about 100 pages into it, and I'll probably finish that the next day or so because it's quite a quick read for me. And while I'm doing that, the other book I am looking at reading starting this week, I'm just going to find it on my Kindle because it's a Kindle one. Well, actually, not find it on my Kindle, I'm going to find it on my tablet because I can show it to you in colour when it's on my tablet. I said before I like to have a thing of short stories normally on the go at the same time. And let's hit the library. What we've got here is, it's called, sorry, it's downloading the thing. Sorry, it's because I don't read on this. It's just the fact that the library there is easy to look at. It's called, ooh, I don't want to go into the book, I want to show you the cover. It's called Nova Hellas, and it's Greek science fiction. There's not much translated Greek science fiction. I was thinking earlier on this year that, you know, Greek has a huge tradition of all their myths and what have you, but I'd never read any Greek science fiction. So I asked around, actually a Facebook group I belong to, I asked around if anybody knew of any. And it's just hard to find stuff that's translated. And this is a book of short stories, and it was recommended to me. The paperback version was actually quite a bit of money, but I got a new Kindle earlier this year, my Kindle Oasis, because I had a Kindle keyboard, which was my wife's. I said I don't read on Kindles very often, but a Kindle keyboard was my wife's old one I was using, and they offered us some money for that because they're stopping supporting it and some other things, and I got it for Kindle Oasis ridiculously cheap. But with that, they offered credits for books, and so with that, I picked up the Nova Hellas, and I said it's Greek science fiction short stories, and I'm really looking forward to reading it because it's just something different. I do think that a lot of science, especially science fiction, you get a lot centered around the US and Britain, but very little European that you hear, or very little from Australia. There's a couple of really good Australian authors that sort of get missed out, especially earlier ones. As much as I don't read huge amounts of newer stuff, I'm really looking forward to that. And if anybody knows of any other Greek science fiction writers that's been translated, I'll be quite interested to see it. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to doing that. Another book, I'm not sure whether I'm going to start reading this in the next week or so, but I stumbled across it again. Kenneth Bulmer. If you don't know Kenneth Bulmer, he's a British writer. Wrote about 160, I think, science fiction books. He wrote a load of Viking books, historical fiction. He did some novelizations. He did a novelization of a British TV program called The Professionals, of those of us of a certain age remember quite fondly. And I got this book of his, I picked up a couple of years back in a local shop called Earth's Shadow, Kenneth Bulmer. And I just have this urge every now and then to read it. Kenneth Bulmer was quite interesting because he wrote under a load of pseudonyms. And all the pseudonyms, he put biographies and said, you know, such and such a person was married and studied veterinary surgery and things like this, and then they retired to write all these fake biographies, and those are quite entertaining to read. But I've never read any Kenneth Bulmer, and considering how prolific he was, it's quite interesting that I've not really done any. So every now and then I keep looking at that book thinking I should read that, sort of. So I don't know whether that's one of his best, one of his worst, or what, but I know he's written a lot. He also wrote I think they were called the Kragan books. I could be pronouncing that wrong or saying the wrong one, which were a set of like Sword and Planets books, sort of in the mould of like Barsoom and like that, books like that. And those are meant to be really, really good. So yeah, so that's probably my pick and mix at the moment. I don't know if there's anything else I was going to say. Just have a quick look around and anything leaps at me. Nope, yep, so that's what I'm hoping to read up for the next week or so. And I said I've got my Bookmas videos going up. I'm hoping tomorrow to finally get my video up for Adam Link, robot I'm just about to record it after this one, hopefully. And as long as I edit it quick enough, hopefully it shouldn't be too much editing. That will be up tomorrow. If not, it'll be up sort of Wednesday or Thursday. But anyway, I hope you all have a good day, and I will speak to you soon.